Can you believe this? The FBI says there was no indication that Nolan was copying ISIS. Now, I'm not saying that, like, ISIS has infiltrated us and that this is going to happen. But, I mean, but seriously, the FBI, no religious motivation. How stupid does the FBI really think we are? And who exactly are they afraid of offending? ISIS? Moderate Muslims? Because moderate Muslims are just as scared as moderate Methodists. And is political correctness now so pervasive throughout our government that the FBI can't tell Americans the truth about the beheading of a grandmother in the middle of America out of a fear of offending Muslims? No, trust me. Muslims are offended by this creep's actions.
My old congressional colleague, now Morning Joe co-host Joe Scarborough on MSNBC, slamming the FBI for labeling the beheading at Oklahoma City, or technically in Moore, Oklahoma, as an act of workplace violence. Many commentators have agreed with the FBI's reasoning, including another MSNBC host, Melissa Harris Perry, who likewise described this as an act of workplace violence. Back here for the third and final hour of America's Forum alongside Miranda Kahn, J.D. Hayworth here, welcoming in a good friend of mine for purposes of full disclosure. He is my personal physician, Skyping in from Phoenix, Arizona, Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, founder and president of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy and author of the book, A Battle for the Soul of Islam, an American Muslim's patriot's fight to save his faith. Zuhdi, we welcome you back to America's Forum. Do you agree with what Joe Scarborough had to say about workplace violence and that labeling by the FBI?
Thanks for having me back, JD. You know, I can't tell you how important it is that we get this right. I mean, this guy is, I mean, maybe it's workplace jihad, but it's certainly not just plain old workplace violence. This gentleman, if you look at his Facebook page, was influenced by a global narrative of Islamists that hate America, that believe that America is evil and anti-Islam and anti-Muslim, and he praised bin Laden. I mean, there is no doubt that his motivation was one of advancing the cause of Islamist supremacism, and we have to label this terrorism, no different than what Nidal Hassan did. I mean, he was influenced by Imam Awlaki. So not only was the act of beheading just like ISIS, he put up, there's a picture of him on his Facebook page giving the sign of ISIS. So, you know, to call this workplace violence is an attempt at anesthetizing the American public to the real problem over and over again. It's like insanity. We keep seeing the messages and we're avoiding the reality of a disease we need to treat.
Dr. Jasser, you have been very vocal about Muslims needing to speak out and denounce acts like this. Do you think more people need to come forward, more Muslims need to come forward and condemn these acts like you have?
And I think the important thing is, when you say how I've condemned them, it's not just condemning the act. It's very easy for Muslims to say, oh, we condemn violence, we condemn beheadings and terrorism and attacking innocent civilians. But the reason Americans aren't hearing them is they're not condemning the ideologies that feed this. It's like trying to treat a flu virus and just saying, well, this patient we're treating, but the global pandemic of flu we have nothing to do with. And that apologetic, that denial needs a 12-step program. And unfortunately, Muslims as a majority are just not engaged. They're not engaged in countering the ideas.
But why do you think that is? Why are they not engaged?
I think two major things. Number one, the administration and the media in general are giving us a pass. They're not putting enough fire under our feet to demand that we separate and differentiate between Americanism or liberty and Islamism, the ideology. And if you look, they may be countering ISIS because they don't have a seat at the UN, but when it comes to Islamic republics like Saudi Arabia or Iran, they're not countering the Islamism of those large countries that are really feeding the ideologies that create monsters like this Arlen Nolan and others.
Zuhdi, Jasser, we appreciate you Skyping in from Phoenix, where it's mighty early in the morning. We're going to ask you to stay with us because on the other side of the break, we want to talk more about the implications of this beheading on our soil, what it portends for the future for all Americans, but especially for American Muslims. So Zuhdi, Jasser, stay right there, and wherever you are watching us, we hope you will stay right where you are as we continue to talk about this very important subject. Workplace violence, or in reality an act of terror? More coming up as America's Forum continues here on Newsmax TV.